Tunisia is attracting a lot of researchers. I mean, every time I go, I find researchers from all over the world because you have a fascinating combination of downfall of an old regime and emergence of a new model, a new regime. And the two are coexisting in many aspects and competing in other aspects, and also opening up new spaces of contestation. So really everything is open to question. And that's something very interesting to observe as a researcher, that economic questions, political questions, social questions, the constitutional framework, the mechanisms of political representation, the relationship between a political representative and the public, the role of the new emerging democratic institutions such as the Constitutional Court, which is being debated now. I mean, literally the whole machinery of political governance is being put in place in Tunisia, a whole new machinery. And at the same time, we have many questions about the economic governance structures also, which are being raised by social movements, which are being raised by citizens who are contesting economic structures and who are calling for an alternative. And I think what will be interesting in Tunisia is to see how Tunisia can manage this dual political and economic transition at the same time. To step back a bit to the revolution and how it started. The revolution, interestingly in Tunisia, did not start in cities the way it did in Egypt later on. It didn't start with organized forces, whether it was political parties or trade unions. It started very much as an unorganized, spontaneous movement of young people, particularly the majority, but also people who were excluded from the political system, excluded from the economic system, and who were no longer willing to wait actually outside these structures forever to be integrated and included. And so what we have seen actually in Tunisia and across the region is we had, post-independence, we had a state which had a large modernization project to build a new state, a new society. And 50 years, 60 years later, we're seeing that these promises haven't been fulfilled. And unfortunately, there has been a regression in terms of political rights, in terms of economic and social rights. And we have had also a segmentation of society into insiders and outsiders in the economic sphere and the political sphere. Those who are benefiting from, a very small group of people benefiting from the system, the insiders, and outsiders who, if you don't have connections, if you don't have contacts, if you don't have some privileged means of access, you are left in waithood forever. And so I think that that's what, that was part of the dynamics that drove the Tunisian Revolution. And these young people understand that the revolution is not sufficient in itself to create change, to create reform. And that actually you have to keep pushing, you have to keep contesting, you have to have a constant movement of contestation to be able to reform these structures and to be able to destabilize, in fact, these structures and practices within these institutions. So we have a lot of social movements, a lot of NGOs, a lot of informal groups of citizens who are launching initiatives to really discuss how do we change these structures, these exclusive structures which are creating unemployment, creating social exclusion. Well, I think a lot of NGOs in Tunisia are developing new strategies, and through practice and through the actual immersion in activism are learning on the job, really. So nobody knew how to do civil society activism in Tunisia before, but after the revolution you have a new public space and also a consciousness that this was not the end of a process. The revolution has not ended. It's not a matter of now we have elections, we hand over the process to an elected political body, and that's it, we've done our job. There is a consciousness among many citizens that there is a need to keep pushing and to keep contesting and to keep raising issues if we're going to reform institutions, whether it's the police, whether it's the administration, whether it's the judiciary. And so many NGOs have emerged that are literally learning as they are doing, such as the NGO that I'm part of, Jasmine Foundation. It is a group of people who are, whether they're social scientists or whether they are citizens who are interested in public affairs. The idea for us is really to redefine the issue of what is the public good, and occupy or recreate a space in which citizens can argue, can deliberate, can discuss, can shape their own opinions and each other's opinions, and can also engage with political representatives. So really trying to fill the gap, the deficit that we find between the public and political institutions, to try to redefine the role of political institutions, to try to provide access for the public to these political figures who are there to serve people, and to try at the same time to create confidence and capacity on the part of citizens to be able to form judgments and to be able to give their opinions and to be able to participate, which is something new actually, after 50, 60 years in which we had top-down rule by one single man, decisions come from top to the bottom. So it's really trying to create a new citizen consciousness of the role of citizens and to provide a sense of agency as well. We have a lot of voluntary support. First of all, we have all of our young people are volunteers. I mean, we have 70, 80 regular volunteers who come and help, who give their time for free, whether it's facilitating activities, whether it's running workshops, whether it's writing for us, for our website. So a lot of young people giving their time for free. But then also at a certain point, we had to create a strategy, a model for how to be sustainable. So that needed a lot of expertise, a lot of time, but we also managed to find support, institutional support from funders inside Tunisia and outside as well, who we find are aligned with our values and our objectives, who do not interfere in our projects and programs, and who give us the space basically to be able to implement the kind of ideas that we want to develop. So at a certain point, yes, you also, I think, have to professionalize as an NGO or a social movement. You have to have a division of responsibilities. You have to have full-time people who are sitting there developing programs, developing relations with young people, because we work with young people, and that means also building relationships. And that means you have to be available all the time to accompany them. It's not a matter of engaging them in a project and then disengaging. We see that it's citizen engagement is something that has to be ongoing. And so we have young people who we employ as youth engagement officers, who are there basically to build relationships with young people. And we work especially in the most difficult neighborhoods in Tunisia, where young people have never had an institution that is interested in them, in developing them, in hearing their views. So it's particularly important to have a relationship of confidence, which means that you need professional support at the end of the day. So I think this is one point that really needs to be focused on, is how to support civil society organizations, how to create a sustainability as well, while guarding our independence very, very strictly.